Welcome. I'm Nigel Farage on the road. Today I'm in Hull. So, what's been going on? Overnight, a big piece of polling by YouGov telling us that Boris will win a 40-seat majority. Well, there's no great surprise there. I've been telling you that now for the last 10 days or so. Interestingly, they put out a tweet, YouGov, saying there are 8 constituencies in which, because the Brexit Party did not stand down, the Conservatives may not win the seat. Now, this raises a big question. Are YouGov an independent pollster, or are they, I'm asking a question, being paid by the Conservative Party, acting as political propagandists? Because the Brexit Party did not stand down, the Conservatives may not win 8 of those seats. Just think that through. Believe me, the polling industry is as untrustworthy and as unreliable as the whole Westminster political system. I really think that we should have a declaration of interest. We should know if a polling company is putting out data, who's it being paid by? I think that is really, really important going ahead. But no worry, because no one cares about polls or believes them anyway. They were wrong about Brexit, wrong about the Scottish referendum, wrong about Donald Trump, and then no doubt in some ways be wrong here. Although, I've been saying the Labour vote softening. Now, interestingly, overnight, Jeremy Corbyn's team have announced a change of strategy. He is no longer going to spend time going into Conservative-held marginals. He's going back to Labour leave seats. I'll bet you a tenner he's here in Hull before very long. Why? Because they know they've lost the election. They're now trying to mitigate the number of seats they lose. And their technique is to use the NHS, is to say the Brexit Party, the Conservative Party, want to privatise the NHS, and Donald Trump, with a trade deal, wants to buy it. Now, it is complete and utter lies, and yet that is what they pump out day after day. Can you take the risk, they say, of people privatising the NHS? Well, it was the Labour Party themselves under Blair that privatised chunks of it and, of course, gave us these horrendous PFI contracts, which are like a millstone around the neck of the National Health Service, of many of those trusts, and will be for years and years to come. That is what Corbyn's doing. He's desperate. He's losing on everything. He's losing on Brexit. He's resorting to conspiracy theory and lies. Oh, and of course, as I mentioned, that 451-page document that mentions the NHS twice, one mention being it must be protected, saying this is the proof. This is the proof that Donald Trump will buy the National Health Service. It is amazing that our politics are sunk to these depths, but that is where we are. Now, your questions, as ever, very interesting. David says to me, I was going to vote Conservative with no Brexit Party in our area, but I'm not sure now, as they are being silly. David, I'm not sure silly is the right word. Should we say tribal or selfish? As you well know, all of you, I tried to put together a Leave alliance that would have won, but what the Conservatives now really do not want is a Brexit Party voice in the House of Commons. They're doing their utmost to stop it happening. There are no paper candidates now for the Conservatives. They are trying hard, even in areas like this, that they have never won and they will never win, because they want the Conservatives to own Brexit as they see it. And maybe then, when they don't deliver, there's no one there to challenge them. That's how they see it. And I say that today, the 28th of November, the 25th anniversary of the Norwegians voting, not for the first time, not to join the European Union. Now, they did keep their fishing, but what happened was their government decided, even though the people had voted not to join the European Union, they would on their behalf join the European single market and keep them aligned with EU rules. What I don't want is for Boris Johnson and the Conservatives to give us a Norwegian-type Brexit. I want us to be free, to honour the wishes of 17.4 million people. Jean says, if and when we leave the EU, will we have more money to spend on the NHS? Yes, Jean, we will. But just throwing money at the NHS, just being wholly uncritical of everything the NHS does, is not sensible thinking. Middle management has boomed since Blair first came to power. Middle management up by nearly 50% in the last 20 years. Are we spending the money right on the NHS? What about the £2 billion a year that it costs us for health tourism. Shouldn't we, begin to think and talk about some of those things? Melanie says, Labour are promising us the earth, but will deliver chaos. Well, Melanie, they can offer, to pay everything, free iPhones. That's the next one, free iPhones, I predict. Haha. But yeah, look, is Corbyn fit to be Prime Minister? No, he's not. David says, YouGov would never let me take part. As I'd put down, I'd vote Brexit Party. Well, I'm back to talk about YouGov and the whole polling industry. They can, because if they've been commissioned to do it, produce almost whatever they want. Overnight, YouGov has shown that they are acting politically, not independently, and in any neutral way whatsoever. So to Hull, and joining me, a Hull celebrity. Somebody from Hull who is very well known. She's been on a big reality TV show. She's now a regular commentator on Sky News and elsewhere. She's got, I think, fairly firm opinions and a good idea of what is right and wrong. So please welcome to On the Road, Hull, born, raised and bred, Michelle Dewbry. Michelle,
hello.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, you've chucked your hat into the ring to stand for the Brexit Party here in Hull. You did it in 2017.
As an independent, yeah.
As an independent, and I remember that very, very well. And you've, let's be honest, there are not that many famous people from Hull in the last few years.
Well, there's a really famous Hull lady, which is Maureen Lipman.
Yes.
That some of these viewers might recall over the last few days has just done a really interesting video about Corbyn and about Labour, actually. So we're making sure that that content is shared heavily. She used to do BT ads, and she used to talk about what you're doing and da-da-da. And she's done a fantastic ad where she's saying to everybody, I know we used to vote Labour and it's what we do and what we did, but not anymore. This is not the Labour Party that it used to be. So I'm very pleased about a fellow Hull gal. She's helping me.
Yeah, I mean, she also talked about ologies, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got an ology. And I have to say, I did once jokingly blame Maureen Lipman. So many of our kids doing social sciences at university. She didn't quite see the funny side.
She's a great lady. But that was a wonderful advert that was all about Corbyn and why Corbyn is not the same as what people used to vote for. And people really need to listen to that because it's true.
Well, the anti-Semitism, and the word that I'm getting in Yorkshire this week from people is IRA sympathiser. They say it, and that's how they feel. Particularly families, with links to the services, either in the past or now. But Michelle, you've grown up in Hull. You've grown up in a one-party state.
Yeah.
The Labour Party have dominated this for the whole of your lifetime.
Yeah, they dominate. So if I look now, you've got, well, obviously the Parliament's not sitting at the minute, but you had all 3 MPs was Labour, majority of the council Labour, Mayor Labour, the Police and Crime Commissioner, Labour. And I think when you have such a monopoly on power across a whole city, it cannot be healthy.
And yet, they've been able to just re-elect and re-elect and re-elect Labour MPs. But Brexit has the potential to change that. 70% of Hull voted leave.
Yeah, 68% of my constituency voted leave.
Yeah.
My seat was established in 1997. It's Hull West and Hessel.
Yeah.
Never once has it been Tory nor anywhere close. And I really, unless you're like a northern working class person, it's hard to understand what I'm about to say, but it's almost in your DNA that you wouldn't vote for a Tory. And what's happening now is that voters have been manipulated by the polls. I don't believe the polls think they're nonsense. But what I do think they're very cleverly doing, Lord only knows who's pushing the agenda, but I have my suspicions. But I think that polls have been very clever to manipulate people like the people in the city to make them think, oh, okay, maybe I should vote Tory then, because maybe Tory is within a chance here. And what I keep saying to those voters, Nigel, is in your heart of hearts, because you know Hull, you know people like you know that they won't vote in a majority a Tory. So you have to trust your instinct, stop being manipulated by polls telling you that they're about to win here, because I don't believe it. And if I'm wrong, I'm big enough and ugly enough to stand up and say I got it wrong, but I don't believe I have got it wrong.
No, the Tories aren't going to win here. They've never won here. And I completely get that. I completely get that. But Brexit's strong here, isn't it? I mean, people
Huge.
care about it. The Labour Party have turned their backs on them. I think for you, the challenge actually is not the Labour vote. The challenge is the Conservative vote.
Yeah, well, I've got two. Well, I've probably got three. I've got the people that just vote Labour all the time just because their dad and granddad did. So I have to try and get hold of those. I've got the set of voters who actually, they're so frustrated and go, you know what, there is just no point anymore. I'm just not going to vote. So I have to get hold of those guys. And then the people who are considering voting Tory or might have voted Tory in the past, my point to them is, if you vote Tory, you will get Labour because they will not win. And I think I talk to voters regularly now, and I had one come up to me at the weekend and say she was torn. She's voted Tory for 40 years.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to do. And I said, I'll just ask you a simple question. Have you ever won here? She said, well, no. And I said, well, there you go. Because in this election, you won't win. And if you vote them again, you're just going to return Labour. But now you have an opportunity and an option that is not Tory, but it's different to Labour. And for me, it would be unfair. I can't even imagine if I put myself just into a voter's perspective, what have you got to lose? Because I'm saying to people, just trust us once, give us one shot, one opportunity, and just give us that opportunity to deliver what we're saying we will.
Which is a proper Brexit, not a Norwegian Brexit, a proper Brexit. Now, I've just been around the ancient part of the city of Hull, and I have to say, it is fascinating. It is delightful. We had lunch in a room where there were plotters there back at the time of the English Civil War, some wonderful old churches. I mean, amazing, actually, really, really nice. And yet, overall, Hull has a quite low income
It does.
per capita. I mean, have decades of Labour helped Hull?
Well, put it this way, a report was out yesterday called State of the North 2019, so anyone can find this online. And it stated that it's the division between North-South in the UK. And it actually stated that Hull, in particular, has a higher mortality rate than places like Romania and Slovakia. That absolutely blows my brain. And I think Brexit provides such a fantastic opportunity because we can remove power from Brussels, but instead of centralising it all to Westminster, we've got an opportunity now to rewrite the rules of what do we want this country to look like. And to me, further devolution and prioritisation of the North should be well amongst that agenda. And people like the Tories, because it's become trendy to say you support the North because they want to get elected, they're jumping on that bandwagon. But if people had really cared about the North previously, there would not be such a significant North-South divide.
They couldn't give a damn, could they? That's the real truth of it.
Well, I think people know that, and I'm hoping that they remember that when it comes to this election.
And what, you know, I mean, we talked earlier about shops. You know, Marks and Spencer,
Yeah.
as I understand, closing.
Well, we have a strip in here, and anyone local will know what I mean. It's called White Frigate, and White Frigate used to be an incredibly busy shopping street, and one of the big draws to it was an M&S, Marks and Spencer's. So you went there, little by little, year by year, the shop started closing and never really getting reopened as anything else. But then at least you had the M&S to draw you onto that shopping area, and now that's gone. And what I found fascinating, I spoke to a local business earlier, and he said to me he was going to vote Labour, and I said, why? He said, oh, because of their business rates promises, because I'm a small business, I want to expand, and I struggle. And I said to him, but hang on, you're telling me you currently struggle to expand. This city has been under Labour rule for God only knows how long. So surely what you must be thinking is, if you're struggling today, that is because of the system as it currently stands now, which is a Labour system in this city. So if you want change, then the sensible thing to do is vote in for some change. And I do believe, people often say to me, is the Brexit party a one-trick pony, a one-issue party? And I say, no, it is not, because amongst other things like political reform, we are on the side of small business and enterprise. And if elected, we would be pushing to support that, because it's all well and good talking about things like workers' rights, but if you're not having an economy where businesses are existing, continue to exist and thrive.
Yes, I mean, workers' rights without jobs aren't really very
Exactly,
valuable, are they?
Exactly, and I'm hoping to land my message, but make no mistake, we're the underdog. We really need, there'll be people watching this that go, yeah, you know, go Brexit party, and that's wonderful. We need all the online support we can get. But what I would say is if anyone is watching this that believes in what we're saying, supports the cause, then for this next 2 weeks, it is so essential that people come together, take to the streets with us to help us with our campaigning, Because unless we come together and actually make sure that people are motivated to put that tick in the box, then come December the 13th, we'll just be in the status quo.
And nothing will change.
Indeed.
And that's the problem. And we want real political reform. Brexit isn't the last step of political change and reform. It is the first step of political change and reform. And you know, this is the end of my little tour of Yorkshire this week, and it's been so interesting. Met some very passionate people that completely support what we stand for and what we do. Met them in Hull here too, and they got, you know, great time for Michelle. She's local girl made good, I guess, and that's a very, very good thing. But I've also met a lot of people out there who are confused. They are confused as to what they should do. We've got 2 weeks in these strong Labour seats to convince you. A vote for the Conservatives here splits the Leave vote. A vote for the Conservatives here is a wasted vote. And you know what, Michelle? We're going to run to the line, aren't we?
Agreed, yeah, agreed. 2 weeks. You know, I'm up for it, I'm in for it, and like I keep saying, we need people to come together and not just say they support us, but lend us their time to help us spread the message to as many voters as possible. Because for me, every time I walk down the street, I see a shopper, I see that as a potential person that we could talk to and try to explain about the Brexit Party and secure their vote. But, you know, we are a startup, we only have so much resource, so we need your help.
There we go. She needs help. If you live in this part of Yorkshire, come and give Michelle some help. Thank you very much. I am going to be, tomorrow, not on the road. Tomorrow is a catch-up day in London. I'll be out back campaigning on Saturday. Thanks for joining us. See you on the next episode.